put in later, we think, by sharecroppers when they started using the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
What they had, as far as belongings, furniture, anything, even if they had a floor or not, would have been strictly up to the owner. And we know that some owners didn't let them have anything.
Right.
Some made them sleep on the ground in blankets. They didn't even have a floor. We think Mr. Henson was a fairly good owner because of what we found in his journal. He gave them 3 days off for Christmas, for example. They had many Saturday afternoons with their Sundays. When he brought livestock up to the house to be killed for the family, he brought livestock up to the quarters. A lot of his people went into town to do business. And he said, I know he would talk about sending wagons of pumpkins to town to be sold. And it was some of his people who were taking them. So, for the time, he was probably a fairly good owner. We also know when the Yankees were here and they threatened the house, he was in there, his family was in there, and several of the house servants who would not leave him. We also know after the war, most of his people wanted to come back and work for him. But his problem was he couldn't afford to pay all of it. So he could only take so many. For the time, we think he was fairly good. It's a lot better than most of them. Or a lot of them.
Huge problem for freedom. People didn't understand. It's like, how much do you pay? Then it didn't even understand what the wage system was at the time.
Well, the other thing that was so bad is when the Yankees left here and marched south, there were a lot of the ex-slaves who were going to follow them because these people they thought had come to take care of them.
They thought, right.
And they didn't want them.
Right. Not at all.
They didn't want them with them.
Right.
And so here they were left with who?
Right.
Yes.
If you didn't have somebody you knew to go back and say, can I work for you?
Right.
What are you going to do?
Right.
It was a bad time for everybody because people were left without any preparation or any way of taking care of themselves.
It's like, you come home off from your trip and you just take everything out your suitcase, but you don't put anything away or reorganize it.
You're lost.
Yeah, exactly.
You're lost. Now this cabin actually was brought here from Bunkie. And this is Miss Maggie Jackson.
Wow.
Now Miss Maggie actually helped build this cabin and she lived in it. She was born about in the 1830s and she died in the 1940s.
Wow.
She was about 114 years old.
What's her name?
Maggie Jackson.
Maggie Johnson.
And we are just, we're very privileged to have a picture of Miss Maggie and to know her story. I'm just sorry that I never did know Miss Maggie because you talk about learning history. You could have learned a lot of history from that lady. You know what this is?
It's not a mouse trap.
Yes, it is. Mouse goes in here, a little gate comes down, catches him, and what you